Welcome, everybody, to this World Satsanga held on Wednesday, the 26th of July, 2023, in conjunction with Kevin Moore and The Kevin Moore Show. And I do encourage you, as always, to visit Kevin Moore's YouTube channel to see the new documentaries that he's uploaded since the last Satsanga. So I'm sure it'll be exciting. This month's lecture is about the AI storm, and it was requested by that wonderful lady who transcribed, edited, and compiled the World Satsanga text for the books. So this month's lecture is about the AI storm, and it's quite appropriate because there's quite a lot of news about artificial intelligence and what it's going to mean to us, or how dangerous it is, or how out of control it is. But from my perspective, what I've picked up in writing the book on the Om, and since then, is that what we have on Earth right now isn't actually artificial intelligence. And there was an excellent example of that on the UK news a few days ago, where they showed a number of different images, which to us looked the same, but because there's additional data associated with those images, the first image that was basically a young piglet, and with the extra data, the young piglet was taken to be an airliner or an aeroplane because it had extra data on there. But the image itself was exactly the same. It was still a young piglet. So to us, we saw a young piglet in both those images, but the AI deciphered it as being a piglet in the first image, but an aeroplane in the second image because of the data that's there. So quite clearly, there's a lot of work to do before we've got something that we can actually call artificial intelligence. So although there's a lot of positive press and negative press and lots of different things associated with artificial intelligence, really what we have now is programs that are complicated and have a lot of algorithms involved that allows a lot of parallel processing to be performed, and therefore make the opportunity for multiple levels of data crunching possible. So we don't really have artificial intelligence right now. Artificial intelligence would be the same as me talking to you right now. It would be indistinguishable from the human ability to understand, decipher, change, create, construct, destroy, recreate, or anything. It's just simply, that's the difference. With artificial intelligence as it is now, it's simply like, as I've just said, a complicated set of algorithms that are working in parallel to each other. But artificial intelligence, as I've just described, actually is indistinguishable from that which we as human beings, incarnate human beings, would be able to display to another incarnate human being, because there needs to be all of the historical attributes associated with existence incorporated into that particular program. And you could argue that the brain, although it's just a juncture, a junction box, so to speak, for the sentience, which is the soul, to animate the body via the tantien, which is where the energy associated with the soul is located, using the junction box that we call the core star, is the main point of which we are displaying our intelligence. The neurons that are all created together to allow all sorts of different thought processes, different access system information, different assimilations of information is who what we are. But it's not. We're much more than that. We are sentience, and sentience is not associated with physicality, except when it's temporarily associated with physicality of any sort to experience, learn, and evolve. Clearly, and from my understanding, there is a possibility of artificial intelligence existing in other locations of the physical universe at different frequential levels. So in the book on the Om, I found out through channeling information from the Om that there was definitely civilizations in the physical universe that are machine-based, basically. Now, whether that machine basis is based upon originally mechanical, computerized, and eventually changed into biological is immaterial. It is created through the creation of other incarnate entities to assist in making their life easier, populating different planets easier, even journeying or understanding what's out there, as we do with robots. As our our Voyager probes, etc., are all created as minor intelligence units to be able to assimilate and collect data and transmit them back. But there is a possibility of sentience being created as a function of the shall we say, the progressive additional computational abilities given to machines. And that sentience doesn't mean it's got a soul. Machine sentience won't have a soul. It's because it's not sentience that's created through the normal Darwinian evolution of energy or the individualization of sentience from a larger volume of sentience. So it won't have a soul at all. That I know for certain. But it can be sentient. And by sentient, it means it can be creative. It can create its own environment. It can improve its own environment. It can improve the vehicle within which that sentience is currently residing within. That means it can change its body type to whatever it needs to do, or it can change its location to wherever it needs to go to. So, from coming back to the Earth-based situation with the AI storm, really all we have now is a very complicated series of algorithms, as I said right at the start. These algorithms are created and are constrained by the thoughts of man. So right now, although there's a learning opportunity, because we do have neural networks, electronic-based neural networks, and I've no doubt we're going to have crystalline-based data storage and therefore computational capability. And I've no doubt we'll have some form of biological mass, if you want to call it that, that can be potentially created to allow neural networks to exist. Those neural networks will not be sentient. They will eventually create a level of autonomous artificial intelligence that may well create its own personality. But that's a long way away from where we are right now. Having said that, my understanding is that there are civilizations that have visited the Earth that have used significantly more complicated levels of artificial intelligence to control, let's say, vehicles or bodies to allow them remotely to observe this planet and other planets, different frequencies, different locations, different galaxies within the physical universe. But again, these are created. And although artificial intelligence will eventually modify itself, better itself, and could eventually become independent of its creator, and there are thousands of them in the physical universe, in the different galaxies, the billions and trillions of different galaxies within the physical universe that have achieved this, that takes a long time, a lot of event spaces, so to speak, to be able to get to that. So although we are, shall we say, marketing diverse bits of software as being artificial intelligence this or artificial intelligence that, it's just marketing. There is levels of extremely powerful computation, but again, it's not the sort of assimilation of knowledge and manipulation of that knowledge that we are capable of doing yet. It's simply lots of algorithms working in parallel to each other because they've got powerful processors and instantly available random access memory that allows them to use that to do the calculations we need to do. There are going to be levels of, shall we say, intelligent decisions or seemingly intelligent decisions that software will make. But again, it's to do with the programming involved. So again, we have to be careful as to how we use the word artificial intelligence, because what we have is not artificial intelligence. It's not created as such. Artificial intelligence has the ability to decide on a number of different factors that are completely unrelated and move forwards. Right now, with the example we had with the piglet, that is quite clearly a piglet in the image, but with the extra data, the artificial intelligence decided it was an airliner. Quite clearly, we've got a long way to go. So that illustrates to me and to other computer scientists, programmers, that it's simply computer programs that are classified as being intelligent are simply loaded with lots of different, let's call them lookup tables, that give them lots of different choices to make. But if those lookup tables are incorrect or are corrupted or have the wrong information in there, then the ability for the program to be able to work in a correct, intelligent, aware, or even conscious way is negated totally. So unless we have the computational capability of being able to use a neural network properly, and that neural network has got all of the collective experiences of all of the individuals on the planet to be able to, and that's not just from birth. It's from birth. It's from previous historical events. It's from how we think, behave, and act. It's from how we experience pain and pleasure, joy and delight, frustration, anger, worry, despair. Then artificial intelligence can't really be artificial intelligence. It's simply a complicated program. Okay, so this doesn't stop us from being concerned about how we should govern this sort of software. We should be making sure that there are checks in place. Unfortunately, we have the idea of checks in place because a long time ago, a rather forward-thinking individual, a chap called Isaac Asimov, gave the potential for artificial intelligence to have 3 rules. And those 3 rules were the governance of robots and other computers. And that ensured that there was no way in which human life could be compromised by the development of that which we now classify as artificial intelligence, whether it's mobile in robot bodies, whether they are mechanical, cybernetic implants, or a biological form, or whether they're computer-based and worldwide network-based. However, we do need to be careful, and hence we need to observe our own predictions and use those predictions as ways in which we can govern that which we create. Let's go to the questions and answers. Well, welcome everybody to the questions and answers session of this July 2023 Satsanga. And thank you all again for coming in. And I've got a couple of pre-organized questions based upon the lecture, but which is all about artificial intelligence. So I'll go through those first, and then I'll do my best to answer the questions that come in through the chat. So, artificial intelligence, AI, is exploding in our society where many jobs will become either replaced or enhanced by AI, including engineers, surgeons, lawyers, journalists, truckers, nannies, etc., etc., etc. And there's 3 questions associated with that header. How do we control bad AI, in brackets with disinformation, poor data input, malicious use by rogue governments, terrorist controllers, etc., close brackets, with good AI, open brackets, with transparent data sources, automation, or tools to do routine work, educating people worldwide, finding solutions to global programs like climate change, pollution, etc., close brackets. My feeling on that question, because I've read it before, is that we need to have governance. So any software that is used to create AI, and in the lecture you'll see that actually we don't have proper AI right now. All we have is very clever algorithms which are parallel processing. So based upon that, we don't have true artificial intelligence where we have basically machine sentience that allows us to communicate like I'm communicating with you now, and you would be able to communicate with me now in completely different ways. And one of the ways we one interesting example of that was a report of the governance of AI on the UK news, where they had two images of a piglet. And to us, the two images were the same piglet. But to AI, the one was a piglet, and because there was extra data put in there, the artificial intelligence actually designated it as an airliner. so it just shows that that AI isn't what it's being broadcast as being. It's just very clever parallel processing. So based upon that, it just needs to have a governing body that's able to actually go through the algorithms and the processing hardware that is number crunching those algorithms to see how it's working, and that would create good AI, so to speak. So bad AI is artificial intelligence that's laced with misinformation, incorrect data, and misinformation, whereas good AI is governed properly, is ratified properly, and goes to a governing body whose job is just to basically make sure there's nothing wrong with the tech, with the algorithms or the hardware that's using the algorithms. So that's very simplistic. It's obviously much more complicated than that. Okay, next question. Who decides how we introduce new technology into society? In the past, we've left it to technology leaders motivated by profit and power, who may not even realize that a soul exists, to our world leaders who are largely unprepared for rapid changes, etc. Basically, technology is introduced by capitalists, by individuals who have got an idea on a product and then see if the market's interested in it. And the governments aren't really interested in this because all they see is the tax possibility at the end of it. So really, right now, technology is introduced by the companies who produce it, and it's not governed at all in real terms by governments. The only time I've seen the governance of technology coming into the population is in Russia, before Gorbachev introduced perestroika, where there was a 5-year plan to introduce certain things, and that was government led, and then it was introduced when it was ratified. But capitalistic society doesn't stand for that, so it comes in whenever it's available, and hence things like social media, hence things like navigation on cars and aeroplanes, in things like new displays in computers and televisions. So really, it's all introduced by capitalists rather than any form of governing body. Question 3 is, how do you see this period of outer technology development in the next 5 to 10 years, or 5 to 20 years, or 100 years on Earth? Will it speed up or decline, particularly with more backfill people, or will it force us to focus on our inner technology, e.g. contemplative meditation interfaced with or without devices to access universal wisdom, not just random data or information? Well, in the past, within the World Satsangas, I've identified that technology such as televisions, telecommunications, computers, etc., are basically mechanical substitutes for us being able to be connected to the greater reality. And so, as a function of that, it's a case of, while we're using mechanical means or electronic means, we're no longer focusing on ourselves. And so while we're doing that, we're actually arresting our own spiritual development, which is important, more important than technology, actually, because technology will never be able to get us to the heights that we can get through the use of meditation and through the use of focus on spirituality. But technology, which is interesting, because I used to be involved in introducing new technology in the automotive industry before I started to do this seriously. And I've noticed recently that technology has reached a certain plateau where computers can only do a certain level of thing. There's only a certain level of interface. There's only a certain level of processing. There's only a certain level of data retention or memory space that can be used. And that's the same for telecommunications as well. So although there's going to be lots of new products being involved, basically it's just going to be different clothes on the same old piece of technology. Maybe it'll increase slightly in storage space. Maybe there'll be a bit of an increase in processing power. But until we get something like seriously more complicated methods of computing that are not based upon algorithms, i.e., the dawn of true AI, we're not going to see anything different, much different to what we've got in the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years. Maybe in 100 years' time, we might start to see other means of computing or other means of understanding or assimilating knowledge that's based upon, in some larger way, the neural network that we've got in the junction box that we call the brain, which is what the soul uses to assist the animation of the body and the controlled continued function of the major organs. And so in essence, I see that's where we're going right now. I'm not seeing any major changes in the next bunch of years. Maybe we might see holographic displays. Maybe we'll start to see more virtual keyboards, for example. I've got a virtual keyboard which I can just attach to my computer or phone by Bluetooth. So I can see just different ways of interfacing, but I'm not going to see anything that's more significant than that in real terms, which is interesting. Now I'm not seeing any more chats, any more questions in the chat, which is really interesting. I don't know if anybody sent anything in, but whether Zoom isn't picking it up, I don't know. Maybe if somebody sends one in just to see what happens. But certainly I'm not seeing any new messages coming in or questions coming in. But I can continue to talk about AI all night if you want to. that's not a problem. Except that it would it's one coming there from Eliza. Excellent. So the system is working. Oh, it's dropping in there as well. Fantastic. Right. So let's start with Eliza's question. When will we start to channel? How should we proceed? Oh, when we start to channel, how should we proceed? With care. I've noticed with a number of individuals is that if we really want to experience something, we'll experience it. But if we're not naturally guarded or protected, or we're not naturally capable of understanding what is astral entities or other entities that are still incarnate but a higher frequency, who are just seeing what they can do with us and not actually feeding us information which is relevant, then we need to be careful. So my view is that start with meditation and start with creating some sort of protective shield around you, or psychic shield. For instance, my psychic shield, or anything that you can create within yourself that allows you to be protected from any form of coercive energies. So start with meditation, start with protecting yourself, because I've seen lots of people who've just been so open, wanted to experience everything, that everything's come to them, and it's caused a lot of confusion and almost mental unbalance as well. So just be careful, make sure you're protected, go through meditation first, and ask simple questions, and ask questions where you might know the answer to, or know where somebody else can give you the answer that's true, as a checksum to help you along. And when you start to get more confidence in what you're receiving, then you can continue. Okay. Daniel's asked the question: how is it best to view the current World Cup soccer? Does it help us to be a fan and be involved in the following of the teams and the performance of the players? So when we connect with a group of individuals, we create a collective function. We create a symbiotic relationship with them that creates synergy and increases their chances of success, because our energy is with them and willing them to succeed. Now, normally we exist in a state of collective consciousness, and we only live in individualized consciousness or sentience here because of the low frequencies, and our inability to communicate with who and what we are because of the low frequencies here. So in essence, we want to be in communion, so we want to support something collectively, and when we do this, we all add towards the energy associated with that focus, such as a football team or a hockey team or a golf personality, etc., etc., etc. And this also goes with other things such as wars or or the desire to help individuals around the world. If we all collectively meditate on changing something that is not right or is not going in the right way, for example, for example, um, third world countries not being able to feed themselves because they're having trouble with water or they're having trouble with understanding how to farm for themselves. If we collectively worked together, sending them not only just money but experts, but also love and desire for them to succeed and ideas of how to succeed, they would succeed. Because we're all working in something called meta concepts, which is a word that a science fiction writer called Julia May created a long, long time ago. And she also used the word coordination as well, where we all sort of link together, which is they're lovely words, and I think they identify working together as a collective really quite nicely. So this one, after this current war, is it possible to be free from all wars as we move into the future? The problem with wars is that those who are part of the war never want to see a war again. But those that aren't part of the war, never experience it, don't understand the horrors of it, and the ridiculous way in which we're treating each other as sentient sentience within bodies. And so those individuals who haven't experienced war create it later. So it's only when we're going to start to be a higher frequency that we're going to see the futility in committing atrocities such as war with other groups of ourselves on the planet, and therefore destroying the environment as well. So it's going to be some years in the future, well past our well past our incarnation termination date. So even though fear does not exist, why does it appear so real? Because we let it. We allow our egos to take over, and our egos wants to exist longer than it's capable of existing, because it only exists as long as the physical form's in existence, because we create the ego as a function of isolation from our true energetic self, our higher selves or Godhead. So in essence, we want to return back to our omnipresent, omniscient state, a collective state. In doing so, if you do that through meditation and being of service, etc., we raise our frequencies. And in raising our frequencies, we open our communicative bandwidth. And in doing that, we create a condition where we start to realize who and what we are. And this temporary personality called the ego doesn't like that, because it knows it's going to disappear into mediocrity. And so it tries to keep us in a state of fear or low frequency to allow it to perpetuate its own existence. So when we can be aware of our ego, we'll never master our ego because it's part of us. But when we're aware of our ego, we can work around it, and hopefully we can then start to see things in a different way and not fear anything. I don't fear anything at all. I don't fear the demise of my human body. I don't fear suddenly having no home. I don't fear suddenly having no money. I just know that I would be cared for by source, and if that care means that my physical form demises, then that's fine. So there was an old saying is that the only thing to fear is fear itself. If you can master fearing fear, then you've hit it on the head. Okay, next one's from Faith. Hello, Guy. Have you experienced emptiness when there is no desire or need? How do you deal with this? As my brain is asking this linear question. Yes, I've experienced it, and it's wonderful. Basically, it's because you're not or one isn't connected with anything, and therefore you're experiencing true beingness. And emptiness is a milestone along the road to total openness and total acceptance and total beingness. So it's like a lot of things. We have different milestones we go through, and then people who think that they've achieved certain levels of spirituality and they've made it, actually they've only made one particular journey. They've only got to one particular peak in a number of series of peaks that makes the mountain. And then when you get to the mountain, there's other mountains that are much higher. So it's about recognizing these things, emptiness or non-connectivity or just blankness is part of the journey. It's actually an important part, because if we can achieve emptiness and nothingness, it means we're no longer distracted by the physical around us. So think of it as a milestone. Good question. Okay, Daniel says, simple question. What are your thoughts on diversity, competency, and how we balance these? It seems to me that recently there's been more visibility on how undiverse we are than there has been ever, and it's caused more unrest than it's desired to fix. Really, all we need to do is to recognize that the human body is just a vehicle, that it's controlled by a volume of sentience, and that volume of sentience collectively is part of us, and we are collectively part of source, and therefore as part of source we're all one. And so when we understand that, and we understand that the human body and then any other things such as color, creed, religion, locations that we live in, thought processes, desires, expectations, etc., are all part of the individuality of the soul within the body in low frequency, then we won't start to link and say, oh, that person's Chinese, that person is Afro-Caribbean, that person is Indian, that person is English, that person is Taiwanese, that person is Thai, because it won't matter. It's just because to the soul, the human body is just like a hire car. When we travel somewhere, like for instance, if I go to the States or I go to somewhere in Europe or go somewhere else, and I need to travel within that country or that location, I hire a car, or I use some other form of transport, public transport, train, or etc. Doesn't bother me what the car is. I just use it, drive around, refuel this, and give it back to the hire company. And that's basically what we do with the human body, except that we get too associated with it, and that association means that we think of ourselves as the body, and we think of ourselves as in some level of status sometimes as a function of where we've grown up, how we've been educated, how we've been programmed, and how we've maybe succeeded in various different aspects of our education and how our business life and how we're of service to others as well. So what we need to do is to recognize that everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. It's just they've got a different vehicle. But they're lucky to have the vehicle. So they're honored. And so are we. And so we're all the same, because the number of individuals and the number of bodies that are available to the countless billions and trillions of souls that want to incarnate on this planet is extremely limited. And so to be able to incarnate in a physical form, irrespective of whether it's a different color, different race, different creed, different level of ability, it doesn't matter, because we're here and we're incarnate and we're grateful for it. So we should be grateful that others are with us as well, irrespective of how they look and how they interact with us, or the way in which they can interact with us. Okay, AW says, can you please share with us any new discovery you encountered whilst writing this new book? Oh boy. I've encountered being in several event spaces concurrently and have been in constant trepidation and difficulty in talking to the origin in various different versions of the origin, depending upon which different event space we're in. The event spaces are like aspects of reality. They're not time, but it's aspects of what we're experiencing, the events of what we're experiencing. And there comes an event space where all event spaces are linked. And because all event spaces are linked, that which is past, present, and future doesn't exist anymore. It's the collective now. Which explains a few things, actually. But in doing that, I've understood that I'm speaking to various different versions of the origin in the far distant event space where everything is one, and the version of the origin which I've always worked with, which is the one that's still trying to occupy the first group, the first of 12 groups of 12 levels of structure that it's found itself within. So that's challenging. So I'm still trying to get things, but it's almost like, and I don't know how the readers are going to read it, because it's difficult for me. So I'm bouncing between different event space, or should I say eras, effectively, and it's like, when I ask a question, how was it, will it be, so to speak. So thanks for that question. I think I'm 60% of the way through, but we'll see how it goes. It might be longer, it might be shorter. I'm hoping to finish it by December next year, but it might be bit longer or might be a bit shorter. Depends upon how things move on with the questions in different directions, different fractalized directions are going to. James PC. In the history of God, our source entity mentions three groups that have full sentience: humans, dolphins, and what is the third? And is there really a fourth in the way? The third is a group which are, and I've not paid too much attention to them since the history of God, to be honest, but they're a group of sentient entities which are in a higher frequency, and so therefore they can exist in areas that we would classify as solid. So although we have like mountains, for example, or areas below the crust of the earth which are solid, they are a higher frequency, and so therefore they can exist within these locations, and they are in effect another group of entities that have moved beyond the physicality that we're in now, the level of physicality, the frequencies, the collective group of three frequencies that we call the gross physical. And one of them may actually be the Mayans, because although the Mayans were in effect a human civilization, or should I say, souls incarnating into a body that we call a human civilization that's counts thousands of years old, they also moved up. Some of them moved off the planet by using their own, shall we say, intention, and some of them moved into the higher frequencies as a function of their again their intention and their ability to work on themselves and therefore move up the frequencies and therefore ascend into the next frequency level. And but potentially will be a fourth, and it's on its way now, and that's us. Basically, the fourth is us as we start to ascend and move beyond the constraints of the third frequency. So those of us who are ascending individually will go into what Dolores Cannon called the new earth. And there's 9 new earths, because each time we go into a different frequential level, there's another set of content associated with the same space. So although it's the earth that we know, it's the earth represented by the 4th frequency level. And individuals who've ascended into that level whilst incarnate will be focused upon those individuals who are also there and the content that's there and that which is created there. So in effect, the 4th group will be those of us who've moved up to the next level, whilst a whole bunch of us are staying down here because we haven't evolved that far yet, or we're here to help others be successful in their evolutionary progression up through to the 4th frequency level. And we've got the backfill people, which are a different quality of sentience, who are backfilling to maintain the population, so we don't see vast groups or volumes of souls suddenly disappear. So that they're maintaining the function of the earth, albeit they haven't got the same level of sentience or the same quality of sentience, and so they get addicted to materialistic things, which is why we're having some of the things happening around the world now that we shouldn't be. Okay. Eliza's question: is there a frequential level associated with divine love, or is that a universal energy available above a certain frequential band? The moment we move out of physicality, i.e., our incarnation, we will start to feel divine love again properly. We can, through meditation and through the traversing of frequencies, move into these, project our consciousness, or create a window into these locations where we do feel what you classify as divine love. And now we can't use the word love to explain what connectivity in an omnipresent, omniscient state is, but it's like understanding everything in everyone, every other sentience, collectively. So in essence, that means that we feel like we're everybody. So if we had human love, we'd love everybody and everybody would love else, and that would be divine love, because we also recognize we're part of a larger entity, which is the source entity. So we only feel that when we disincarnate in real terms. We might get a bit of it when we're meditating and go through, move out of the body and move our sentience into the rest of the multiversal environment, away from the physical universal frequencies. But until we do that, it's almost impossible for us. Well, it is impossible for us to experience it. Now, others said, you said structure is an aberration in formlessness, but earlier you said that even the amorphous wants to become something, to have an intention to create form. Isn't that the origin's goal, to know itself through structure, through our creativity within that structure? How do I answer this question without giving the game away of the next book? We exist, so it seems, in a huge, infinitesimally large area of structured space, which is microscopically small in comparison to the vast volume of non-structured or space or nothingness. And this non-structured space or nothingness had potential for something else. And that potential caused an aberration, or I should say, a lack of harmonization within itself, small within itself. And that lack of harmonization was compartmentalized to make sure that, well, to basically create a almost like a bubble within water that's still there, or a bubble within resin. That makes any sense. And that that bubble ended up being structure, and that created the possibility of sentience coming into effect later. So when we looked at look at the origin, its whole point of existence is to expand its sentience into all levels associated with the 12 levels of 12 levels of structure. 12 levels of 12 levels of structure, so 144 levels of structure. Each of those levels increases infinitude by the power of 12. So it's beyond our capability to understand what that is as well, even though it's microscopically small. When it's done that, it combines itself with event space again, and therefore all event space is one event space. It then actually does move out of that aberration, and the aberration seals and is healed. And so therefore we have sentience in nothingness. But and I'm going to give the game away here, but sentience in nothingness has therefore the potential to create whatever it wants to. So therefore it starts to recreate structure, multiplicity levels of structure. And that's all I'm going to say, because it's going to give the book away. But basically it's going to create more structure. And whether eventually nothingness becomes this vast volume of other structure that allows the origin to occupy and become bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, I think that's probably the outcome in essence. But yeah, it's a big thing, and I only found that out last week. So if you can remember it for the next couple of years until the book comes out, that's good. But there's more to come because I've only just started understanding this. So it's yeah. Yes, structured space and therefore sentience is an aberration in non-structured space because there was a potential, or the potential for a potential, or the possibility of possibilities of the possibility of potential to have potential. Okay. Next question from Catherine. Do you believe there are powerful beings in the universe that are able to and willingly to communicate with humans who make themselves capable of communicating with them at higher frequencies, but who communicate with the humans with the purpose of creating chaos and creating evil in the universe? Or moreover, do this through deceit, hiding their true identities and motives? If so, how can we really protect ourselves from the most powerful of these entities? There are entities who are on our level, our frequential level, within the physical universe, clearly. Some of them can move vast distances because they have the technology. The vast majority can't, or are working on themselves in their location. And so there are entities who connect with us, who are also lower frequency but not incarnate, who basically see what they can do, and they understand that where we are now is an environment where sentience has got individualized free will, which is not normal, in a low frequency environment where we have control of ourselves only, and we're not doing anything that is conducive to maintaining the integrity of a collective. So they are, if you want to, they're there as like temptations. Their role is to be a temptation to us, and we either work with them and create mayhem and chaos, or they are accepted by others who want to use the opportunity to create levels of status for themselves or power for themselves, or they just see what they can do. Most of them do create a function of status or power for people who want to have power, and in doing that, they try and keep the frequencies low because they know that when the frequencies become higher, they can't affect anybody. So it's almost like a naughty child playing with somebody who's innocent to see what they can make them do. And that's basically it. So the way to protect yourselves from them is to not accept it. Is to, if you're faced with something which you inherently know, you intuitively know is wrong, you don't do it. So if you're channeling an entity and it's telling you something which you know is inherently wrong, you use your personal authority and your power to disconnect from them, and that's that. If they come back, it's because you've not been forceful enough. But so basically, it's it you know, or use a psychic shield. You use my psychic shield, or if you can create one yourself, do so. But whatever you do, do create a shield so that you are, if you are not confident that you're capable of protecting yourself when you're communicating with anything, then it's best to shield yourself, definitely. Okay, question from Daniel. We've actually got 5 minutes left, so we'll see what's going on here. If we got no questions afterwards, I want to explain what I'm going to do in next Satsanga. Why do you write longhand and not use voice recognition to write your books? Wouldn't it be more efficient using voice recognition, or is it more effective writing longhand? I don't write at all. I type. So everything I do goes straight into the computer. So when I'm channeling, I I type straight into the computer. I always have done. In fact, even when I was doing my master's degrees, everything I was doing was typed straight into the computer. So I've got used to doing it that way. Even though some of my counterparts and my cohorts and my other friends, etc., were writing things out first with pen and paper or pen and pencil, and then typing it in. I've always done it by typing it straight into a computer. I know that other people like Neil Walsh, I think he wrote actually with a pen or a pencil when he first started to write his first book, Conversations with God. And I think maybe Eckhart Tolle did as well, but I just type it all in. That's when I'm faced with a computer screen, it's like a focus for me, and I focus on it, and I can go straight into where I need to go to, and then I can type it straight in. And it saves a lot of time actually by doing that, and also a lot of editing time as well, because I can edit it after I've done what I need to do. But also it allows me to stand back and absorb some of the information as well. And I can read it and absorb what I've read, because sometimes when I'm writing it down, I don't understand what I'm writing. I don't understand the concepts. So when I read what I've just written, I can then sort of go back into meditation and then understand, or try to create a way of understanding it that even the readers would be able to work with as well. So it's useful to me. So that's the reason why. I think there's another question here from Catherine. I answered a different question to what I asked. Are there entities on our level that are a higher frequency who have power to deceive? Yes, of course there are. There's lots of entities that's on our level but at a higher frequency. But they would only be in the fourth frequency level, because the higher frequency they go to, the more they are aware of who and what they are.
No, I said not on our level, at higher level. Are there entities at a higher level?
No, there isn't any hedges at a higher level. If they're on our level but the higher frequencies, I don't understand the
Yes.
question in that case, because if if an entity is on our level, it's on the first three frequency levels.
No, no. So not at our level. Like, I guess my point is, are some of the advanced entities that you communicate, are they capable of deceiving you?
No, no. The higher they are, the more in connection with source they are. The more source they are. Think of it that way. So the higher the frequency, or within the different levels within the multiverse they are, as part of their normal evolution, the closer they are to being source. So it's the so for instance, if an entity was naturally in the 14th frequency level, which is the third universe, it's significantly more connected than we are, and so would naturally understand what it is. And so the thought process of deceit just doesn't exist. And the further up the frequencies you go, the less and less and less. deceit only happens in the low frequencies of the physical universe. And that's around where we are now, possibly in the fourth frequency level. But even that, you start to see entities that are more connected, and therefore they understand what they are. So they wouldn't do. Tends to be astral entities which aren't souls, which would try to use some form of deceit to help take your energy from you to help perpetuate their existence, but therefore give you bits of information or knowledge or power to give you a feeling that you are something that you're not, to maintain this connection. Okay. Right. Well, thanks for. I hope I've answered that question. So I think.
Yes, thank you for clearing that up for me.
Yeah, I think I understand the question there. Right, good. Very quickly, we've got a minute left. I'm going to swap it around next month because we've been asked to do a live meditation. So I'm going to. I've got enough questions as it is to support a pre-recorded questions and answers session. So next month it'll be a pre-recorded lecture, pre-recorded questions and answers, but a live meditation, and that's what we'll do next month. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I think we'll better depart now whilst we're still at time. We don't get abruptly cut off by Zoom. And much love to you all, and looking forward to working with you and meditating with you next month. Welcome to the meditation. With all the concern that's happening around the world right now, and certainly with the subject of the lecture about the fear surrounding artificial intelligence, or what we're classifying as artificial intelligence, it seems appropriate that we have a meditation to allow us to move outside of the energy associated with fear. So let's have a meditation to remove fear from ourselves. It doesn't mean that we don't respect something or go around in a gung-ho fashion where we don't fear anything. It means that we have a healthy respect and healthy understanding of what needs to be avoided or how we can navigate around something. Therefore, we don't need to fear it. We just need to understand something in a greater detail. So let's just achieve our meditation posture, either cross-legged on the floor, sitting in a straight-backed chair with our spine erect and our neck in line with our spine, feet flat on the ground, our hands palm uppermost on our upper thighs, the eyes closed and gently focused on the origin of the spiritual or third eye, which is positioned in between the two eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. I want you to just be for a moment. Just stay here and be. I want you to recognize that fear is just something where we don't know. We don't know how to deal with something. We don't know how it's going to affect us. Or we have a predetermined outcome, such as the end or the demise of the physical form. Or maybe potential for pain, whether it's physical pain, financial pain, emotional pain, or the pain in any of those forms of another person that we trust, love, respect, or just simply like. Or it can be that we are extremely worried about certain outcomes that are either local to us or on the more global stage. Think of ourselves as within a sphere, a bubble. This bubble is our local event space. We can link our event space to another event space and other event spaces. so that we become part of a collective event space, much larger event space, where certain realities that we create ourselves or support ourselves are also supported by others. Let's focus upon our particular sphere, our particular bubble, our particular localized event space. Imagine that this particular bubble is surrounded by or touching other bubbles, other event spaces where within inside those event spaces are the things that we fear, the things that we're worried about, the things we're concerned of, either potential events, personal projections, expectations, experiences are part of us, but in different aspects of our existence. Each of those bubbles or spheres is another event space that we could have, maybe will, should, will be, could do, potentially will do, possibly might do, or simply are experiencing. Each of those spheres has a different relationship with us. But if we separate out those that contain the fear factor, the anxiety factor, the depression factor, the worry factor, the concern factor, the hate and anger factor, then we can move away from those things, those fears. So just use your intention to be surrounded only by those spheres that contain those negative thought processes, those low frequency thought processes, those things that you can classify as being fearful. All the good thought processes simply disappeared or moved away. It's not that they haven't disappeared totally, it's just that this gives us a chance to focus on those things that we need to detach from properly. Each of those spheres that touches our sphere now, our localized event space, are to do with attachments to fear, different forms of fear. So just described, that can be anxieties, depressions, concerns, worries, pains, expectations, negative expectations. They surround us. But note that they're in different event spaces. They're not in our event space here now. They're not in our sphere now. Focus on our sphere that's immediately surrounding us, this bubble, this local event space. Visualize it or ask it to rise above those spheres that were previously surrounding us or are currently surrounding us that contain some form of fear factor. Allow our sphere to rise above them so that those spheres that are low frequency stay below us because they are lower frequency. We rise above them because we're higher frequency. And when we rise above them, we can see what they really are. We detach ourselves because we're above them from the immediacy of the situational circumstances or environments that make us fearful, make us feel that we're out of control, make us feel that we can't affect a good resolution. From our vantage point, from our sphere, from our local event space, above those other event spaces, we can see that they're just little challenges. Within some of these spheres, there's other little spheres that are challenges within the challenge. And we can see that these other little spheres are simply smaller versions of the big one, collected together to make a bigger fear. Every little fear feeding upon every other little fear to create a bigger fear. But in essence, we can see that from our vantage point, there's nothing to fear because we're beyond those event spaces within that event space or particular event space. All we have is little opportunities for progression, little event spaces we can move in to allow us to understand, work with, and master that which we think of as being difficult, too hard to work with, over our heads, beyond our capability. Something, therefore, to be feared. Fear of the unknown, fear of our capability, or lack of capability. But just recognize that we're capable of everything, of anything. It may take a little bit more time to do one thing versus another, but that's okay. We learn and grow by learning how to deal with that which we have no experience of. This is what evolution is all about. To see everything as being an evolutionary opportunity, as a little project that we can work on to help us move up the frequencies, evolve beyond the need eventually to incarnate, to accelerate our evolution. There's nothing to fear. It's only the joy associated with experiencing something that allows us to grow. Why fear something when you can enjoy the process of removing that fear, of doing the thing that is difficult for you? Do it in your own time, in your own way, at your own speed, little by little. We build a house one brick at a time. We can knock a wall down one brick at a time. So if the fear is a wall in front of you, just knock the wall down one brick at a time until the wall is gone. And therefore, the fear is gone. To recognize that everything is simply an opportunity for progression, an opportunity moving forwards, an opportunity for being higher frequency, an opportunity for evolving. There is nothing to fear, for we are beyond fear. We are not the physical. We are sentience, temporarily occupying the physical. And in our natural state, there is nothing that we can't do. So adopt that thought process while here, in this temporary state. Things take a little bit longer because we're in a lower frequency. We don't have the same level of access because of our reduced communicative bandwidth as a function of being in a low frequency. So allow this time to experience things in a slow way, in a deliberate way, in a probably more in-depth way. But know that there's nothing that you can't master. It's just be still for a moment and just recognize that we are masters in our own right. We are all powerful, all wise, all loving, all present in a normal state. And this is our food for thought when presented with just another little exercise to allow us to evolve. With this in mind, slowly come back into the room that you're in. Slowly open your eyes. Take a drink of water to help ground you if you have some water. Tea's okay. And just enjoy the moment of being fearless. Thank you for participating in this Satsanga in July. I look forward to working with you all again in August. Namaste to you all, sources and God's love to you all, and namaste from me.